We've looked at right-click searching in the past, and today we'll look at another way to do right-click searching that can be done independently or alongside our other search methods. Inline searching provides us with a way to quickly examine the text with the reverse interlinear and verbal filters all in one window. Before we look at inline searching, I want to encourage you to use the personal books for more than just books and Logos. So if we go to Tools, Personal Books, in your time as a student and beyond, you'll write a bunch of papers, you'll create sermon outlines or other documents, and you'll just have a lot of things you need to save somewhere. And I use Google Drive to save everything, but I just recently started to play around in the personal books more and realize that, wow, I could save all my papers from my time at seminary in here, and then if I ever search for anything, I can get my documents alongside all of the other works that are in Logos. So just like we've done with a workbook, you can add other documents. So I've added a pristine version of James, and I added it, and once I added it, I've been using it on my iPad, and I've been highlighting things. My highlights are here. This was something I was doing as I was reading through, just some contrasts. But so you can have your highlights. If I don't have any notes in here, but if I added notes to James, they would always be there. So if I did a sermon series and I used this pristine text, and then in the future came back and wanted to see the notes that I took my first time through, I could do that. And so it's just this personal books option is something that it gives you the ability to keep all your documents located in Logos, and they stay up in the cloud. So once you upload something, they're in the cloud. Now, just a quick reminder to add something. Click on Add Book. Then I'm going to add a file. I have a paper on theology of intercultural ministry, and so I'm going to type in that. I wrote it. I believe that was 2014. And so then I will click Build Book. And it'll put it together. And now my paper is there. Now I click Finished. And then if I click on Edit and then click Upload, it'll take a second. The reason that you have to upload it is when you click Upload, you're putting it into the Logos cloud. Before that, it stays located locally. Now that I've done that, I can search for it, I can find it. I'll have to sync before I can do it, just like with the workbook, but I now have it located somewhere that I can use and search, just like all my other Logos papers. So maybe someday I'm searching for like a specific verse for any notes I have on it. If I had anything from this paper, like here's 1 John 2:2, if I was ever searching for something, I'd find this. So, yay. So I'm going to close that. Now we're going to look, first we're going to do a quick refresher. I'm just going to close everything, and then I'm going to reopen ESV. But we're going to do a quick refresher on the right-click searching. We did this a few videos ago, and I want to just jump into it quick. Just realized my Logos is a little off the page. There we go. So for a right click, we're going to do one in Matthew 28:19 on the word go. So if I right click on the word go, and I want to do the basic lemma search, which is what we've looked at before, I make sure on the right side, the gray panel, I make sure it's lemma, and then I would do search this resource. Now that word is peruomai, and now this gives me all of the instances of that verb, go. But right now it's all passages, so the whole New Testament, which is all Greek. And so I want to click that, and I want to switch it to just Matthew. So now I have 29 results and 28 verses in Matthew of the word, it's go, but peruomai. So I've got all of those. So let's say I looked at this, what prompted this example, I was looking at the Great Commission, and I noticed if you hover your mouse over a word, you can see at the bottom of the window, it gives the Greek lemma, the peruomai, and then it also gives verb, aorist, passive, participle, plural. It gives all that information down there. When I read it, I thought it was strange that it was a passive participle. Um, they're not going too far into the Greek, but just on the base level, it's weird that that go command that we see so big would be passive. And so I was curious about that. And so I wanted to search it. And so I look over here on my left side. I've searched it, but this search doesn't really get me that far because for me to learn more, I have to click on each reference. When you click on the reference on the left, it'll show you that on the right. But I can go through, I can see all of these, but on the left here, I don't get to see them with the interlinear. There are some things you can do that are handy in the analysis. I'm not going to open it now because it'll take a while to load, but the analysis even doesn't give you the interlinear or the verbal filters. And so what we're going to look at today is we're going to look at this reverse interlinear, or we're going to look at how to do the reverse interlinear and the filters with the searching by doing an inline search. So I'm going to go back to Matthew 28:19, and I'm going to click on Go, and I make sure it's lemma, and then I'm going to do the search this resource inline. So now I need to make sure I switch from all passages to Matthew, good biblical theology. And now on the left here, the range that I can scroll is just the 29 results in Matthew. And so with this, I can start making some base observations. So in Matthew 28:19, it's go, if I look, it's go is 1, then therefore 2, and then make disciples is 3. But go, therefore make disciples is, I think the idea, or my premise as I'm doing this, is that the make disciples is the bigger deal. And so I think go, this passive idea is maybe it's a go do this, but the focus is the do this more so than the motion. And so if I start looking back, I want to look, so here we've got, it's a different type of verb. It could be middle or passive, but it is a participle. As I go back through, like here we have go, quickly tell. We can start to examine where it's using like the idea of like a fruit stand. We can start to examine, there's different types of apples. These are all apples. It's all the same word, but now some might be Fuji, some might be Granny Smith, some might be Red Delicious. And we can do that with the type of verb. We can also start to look at, we've got red letters here in Matthew 28:19, Jesus is speaking. And so we might also want to look at when it's spoken versus when it's in the narrative line. We want to see what type of discourse it's in. But we can see as we go, there does, or I've seen as I've looked at, there does seem to be a theme where you see going somewhere to do something. The doing something seems to be the more important. Again, this is a premise that I have after looking it over. I'm trying to find, there's one example in John, or not in John, in Matthew where he's talking to John's disciples. Here's one where he says, go and proclaim, saying, but it's go go is 1 and then proclaim is 3, but go proclaim. The proclaim is what's important, not necessarily the going, or that's my premise at least. But you'll see as I'm going go and learn what this means. So there's a lot of this happening, I guess, is what I'm saying, what I'm seeing. And so I make these observations. I try and look, if Jesus is speaking in the one that I'm starting from, then I want to weigh those. Here in Matthew 11:4, go and tell John what you hear and see. Go and tell. Um, Same thing. Again, base level observation, but it starts to help me come up with a theory. I have that theory now, and so if I see this happening, then hopefully that's going to help me when I go interact with commentaries. I might say, I have this theory that go's not a big deal as much as tell or go make disciples. I might look at that and I might say that's what I think the language is trying to say. And I have had Greek classes, which gives me more of a reference. But even without the Greek classes, I see patterns here, and so with those patterns, that'll start to help me be more informed when I read a commentary. If they may place a lot of emphasis on the word go, I might say, why are you doing it there? Because Jesus uses this go and tell. He uses this a lot, and it doesn't seem to be uncommon. Like I might start to question that if I see someone mention how important the go aspect is. There's all nations, so it's there movements implied by that even, but I might downplay the go a little bit more. Again, this is a thesis that it's a working one. It'll take a lot more work to find out more, but yeah. Other things you can do with this that are cool, or I think are cool, you can, with this inline search, let's say you wanted to search for Matthew. So what I'd do is I'd switch off more, and I'd switch to Bible. And I'm talking about the Apostle Matthew. So if I type in Matthew, I don't want to hit enter. I want to find the person Matthew. It's the apostle, author of a biblical book, tax collector. So if I click on that, and then I want to just do Matthew. I want to see what Matthew says about himself. Not much. You'll see there's only 2 verses here. But you'll see it's highlighted in kind of a darker tan, Matthew, to him. The pronouns that are explicitly Matthew, Logos is tagged. They'll do that with anybody in the ESV. So if you were looking for Peter, you'd see whenever he is referring specifically to Peter, same thing. But this gives you just kind of an idea of what you could do. You could follow the life of someone, or where the biblical author wants to stress that person's involvement more so than just one of the 12 disciples. So these are just some of the options with the inline text. Again, this is the inline search. This is just a way that you can use the interlinear and the visual filter, or the reverse interlinear and the visual filters alongside the other search options to be better informed, especially when you're like I was informed about that go and tell, that came from the text. That didn't come from I read it in a commentary and then tried to back it up. It was an observation I made, a base level one that now as I read through commentaries, I want to see, well, what do they say about that? Do they agree? Do they disagree? If they disagree, why? And that can help inform me. And now I'm entering the text with, I do have pre-understandings, but I'm trying to better understand what I'm seeing in the text. So I hope that you'll be able to use these tools or especially the inline search, as you go forward, to be able to start to really dig into the text and own it as best as you can. Thanks.